All right, welcome back to the program. In case you're just joining us, of course, it's another Friday and Finance Friday segment. And today we're talking career management, career advancement. My guest is joining me right now, Nkiru Olumide-Ojo. She's the founder, Lighthouse Network. She's also an author and a columnist. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Nancy. Very nice to see you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, let's get to the issue. We're looking at career management amid COVID-19, but I think I should start from the basics, which is for someone that is really thinking of what career can I take right now, you know, especially as the world is changing. The world is changing before our eyes, and it changed so swiftly. What fundamental questions do you think that someone should ask him or herself and get answers to when choosing a career in the first place?
Look, this, I mean, as everyone knows, completely unprecedented times. And even though it's unprecedented, it's not to say that we're not allowed to take risk or to stretch ourselves. I think my first advice to you will be to go find the World Economic Forum's research report on the future world of skills and what skills are required for the future of work. Very critical. In that report, you would then find skills that have been talked about, such as AI, robotics, but there are also a lot of soft skills that have been recommended as well. So my first recommendation is start from what skills are required tomorrow. And then when you do that, step aside and also check where the business and where the tide is going. The overall aim of why you're doing that is to be sure that the skills that you bring to the market are relevant, and also that the sector that you seek to play is a sustainable sector. Because we all know that just in this 5 months, there are many sectors that were deemed sustainable who have literally gone under.
Helen, okay, the picture froze there. So, so what you're telling our viewers right now is that, first of all, go read, go study,
go research.
Go research. How important is that really when choosing a career? Because, you know, in the past, careers are being chosen for you even by your family, your parents. You know, you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer, you should be an engineer, you should be an architect and all of that. But the world is changing. When people come and say, oh, Dad, I want to be a footballer, I want to be a musician, those days they'll be like, what? You want to be useless? And all of that. But it's changing now. So why should one do research? Why should one study before choosing a career path?
Look, it's just so you know what sectors are, relevant, you know what sectors are sustainable. I mean, I read a research or more than a view from Bill Gates, and he was talking about sectors to look out for and sectors who that were going to be viable, whether another pandemic hits us, because obviously we're now in an uncertain world. And one of the sectors he talked about was e-commerce. Therefore, if you wanted to start a career, you would say to yourself, how can I play in this value chain, whether as a supplier, whether as an employee, whether as a business owner? So to your question, the reason you need to do this research is so that you know what sustainable sector to go into. What you don't want to do is go into a sector that folds up tomorrow, which obviously COVID has shown us that a lot of businesses who were there 5 months ago are all literally gone. So it's important to be sure that you're going into a sector that is relevant for the future.
Okay, are there some careers that are really relevant right now in this changing world? Perhaps perfect careers that are, let me call them perfect careers right now. Are there some kind of perfect careers right now that one should look at? Because there was a report, I've read that a few times, not just only that report, but a few other reports. They will tell you, okay, there are some careers that are still going to exist, you know, for some time to come. So are there some of those perfect careers one should be looking into right now?
I mean, I suppose like everything in life, there's nothing that is perfect. And before I recommend careers, I'd like to talk about skills, because skills are critical. And therefore, the types of skills I believe are relevant for today is one, adaptability, two, flexibility, so critical. And obviously, these are skills that help you survive, and then skills that would help you remain sustainable. Now, just in terms of sectors, I mentioned previously, and that's not to say any sector is typically going to be wiped out, but I mentioned that e-commerce is something that is going to be sustainable in the long run. And e-commerce has different areas and different pieces in the value chain. As an example, with e-commerce, are you a food farmer? Are you a food processor? Are you a food maker? And how are you getting your products out to your target audience? Are you ensuring that your solutions or your products or whatever it is you offer are available online, available across, digital platforms? So I think I'd rather lean on skills, and in terms of skills is adaptability, flexibility, and ensuring that in whatever area you are of the business or whatever sector, you are somehow playing in the value chain of e-commerce. I think those would be my two recommendations.
Okay, let's dwell on skills a bit, because when we're talking about career too, we know the importance and the essentiality of skills in building a career or advancing a career. The question also is, how long will your skills last? Because for like 2020 right now, some of the skills that are important right now, it's about being creative, it's about like critical thinking, for example. But if you take a look at some of those skills, how long will they last? Some would also say you need EQ right now. Emotional intelligence is one of the skills for 2020, negotiation, service orientation, and all of that. So, but the question is, how long will the skills last? Because the skills in 2015 are not the skills for 2020.
And I couldn't agree more. And there is no magic wand and no skill that lasts forever. I think, and that's why I talk about flexibility and adaptability, because you must keep upskilling and keep retooling. Very critical. But I'll talk to you about the primary skills, or what I believe the primary skills are. And strange that with thinking about the primary skills, my entire focus or dependency is on the soft skill. I'm assuming that for you to want to play in a sector, you already have the basics of the technical skills. And the skills are problem solving, communication. We saw how critical having communication skills you were at this period. So many companies had to work from home. If you weren't a great communicator, you had to learn it. Because more than ever, working remotely required that you leaned on your communication skills. So critical thinking, problem-solving skills, complex problem-solving, people management. I mean, one of the things that jumped out at me at the onset of the pandemic was how a lot of people have suddenly become digital managers. And I'll explain that. So formerly, you managed people who were in an enclosed area, you measured them in a certain way. Now it's different. So you had to obviously adapt to being a digital manager, and is understanding that if you're a digital manager, you are perhaps measuring outcomes and not obviously interested in the details of were you here at 5, did you clock out? So what you are then needing is, it's really just to say, what were the outcomes you were giving and did you deliver on them? So judgment and decision making are also some skills, I'd recommend. Service orientation, very critical. And I think that when you talk about service, people tend to think, oh, there would be less physical contact and therefore there will be less need for service. That's not true. The people who win are the people who are able to take their physical service design and develop, a translation of that digitally. So I think that these are the basic soft skills that are required, but I think the most important thing is to keep upskilling, keep retooling. And just before I hand over to you, there was a lot of focus and a lot of mention on AI and robotics. It's important also that, people keep an eye open, around that and do a lot of learning. And just right close to robotics and AI is also behavioral economics and data science. I often say that data is gold. The person who knows how to receive, translate data, and send it right back into the business is the person who's going to be making a real value, or adding real value to any business.
Are there some skills that you need perhaps to master right now that will not pay you off right now? Because there are some skills that are needed, but you may not get the gains right now, because some people, talking about career advancement, they really gravitate to where the pay is higher.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, if you went into AI, I don't know that the results are really immediate. So obviously there'll be the learning piece, and there'll be the time also for you to create, and there'll also be all the testing, times and periods. So it probably is a kind of a longer term skill. And when I say longer term skill, it obviously depends on the area and what solutions, that you're trying to provide. And that's why I put forward a stronger leaning on soft skills, because those are the skills that you learn now, you use today, you retool, you upskill, and you use, further up also in future. I don't think, I think things like data science are also just continuous, and you do them, quite frequently, as long as you understand the methodologies to harness the information, methodologies to plot the information back, into your business. So, I think that a few technical skills will be long-term, just in terms of the time it takes you to study, to understand, to design, and then to send a market or a solution to a product or a solution to market. Thanks.
Now, you've been talking about skills, different skills. For those that are interested, that are watching us right now, say, okay, they are talking about skills, they are talking about skills. How do I get these skills? Does that mean I have to go back to school? What should they do?
Look, there's joyously or joyfully an advent of over-information. And I say that because there's an outbreak of study that is available to study tools that is available to everyone online. The other day I was looking for a course that I had shadowed for a while, which was in the area of thousands, and I wanted to buy this course online. And eventually the course had come down to hundreds. There are many platforms and tools, and if I want to be practical, to provide some guidance, LinkedIn offers various free courses. Coursera offers various inexpensive courses. Udemy offers a lot of courses that are priced, like literally next to nothing. But having said that, there are lots of organizations, like the Lighthouse Network and many others, that are providing lots of training for people. And therefore, I feel like your role is to, one, make yourself available and lap up all of these courses. But there is an outbreak of information, an outbreak of courses. It is for you to sit down, to run a proper map, to say, where do I want to go to? What courses, what skills do I require? And therefore, what courses? And a lot of these courses also come with certifications. So these are certifications, if you want to go formal, that you can also present to an employer.
Can you just give me like top 3 tips for a purposeful career? I know you've talked about skills and skills, but for people that already perhaps have those skills right now, they have some kind of qualities and all of that, but they want to hear from you, what are the top 3 tips for a purposeful career?
Look, I think the first thing, because it's non-negotiable, is to have the relevant skills for the sector for which you want to play. I believe that it's important also to have a vision, because I find that people just fall into careers and then get going. If I get promoted, I just want to work. If I get promoted as a supply chain expert, that's great. If I get promoted as a HR expert, that's even greater. But you kind of need to know, it's important that you have a career vision, which is, where am I going? And then that would help you with the, how do I get there? And I did mention that it's important to have soft skills, but I also just want to put forward the 2 most recommended from my perspective soft skills, which are emotional intelligence and communication. Those 2 are untradeable. So that would be my 3 recommendations. So one, have a vision for your career, understand where it is that you'd like to go to. Be inside of that, having a vision, be adaptable and flexible, because sometimes the vision that you have, it's not where your business is, or it's not available within your business, but nevertheless, do have a vision. The second thing I'd like to say to you is upskill, retool, and keep retooling. The third thing I want to say to you is, from my perspective, because obviously you need to speak and be understood, you need to write and be understood, you need to communicate to lead. Therefore, communication and emotional intelligence will be the two most recommended skills from my perspective.
How about priorities when looking for a job? When looking, yes, you are now in that career path and you're looking for a job, because I think there are two different things. If I'm a media expert, so I really want to go to a company. So what are the things that I should look out for when I want that job?
Look, you should obviously, and I couldn't make, and I say so because we both wear glasses, but obviously if we swapped, yes, we do. If we swapped our glasses for 1 or 2 minutes, both of us will be blind. So the truth is, my objective is not yours, and therefore you need to be clear about what your objective is. And once you've done that, I'm going to say, think about the sector you want to play in. With the sector is also think about the organizations. I say to people, you even need to have a job search strategy. And it is thinking about, do I want to do the top 10, first top 10 organizations, the next top 10 organizations, and then think about what it is these organizations offer. I say to people, ask questions, check online their reviews. People leave organizations and they put reviews online. Think about the corporate culture. And I couldn't overemphasize corporate culture, because you can be a great person with a great personality, great skills, but if you go to an organization where there's a difference in the corporate culture and your personal values, and you are not able to align, then you leave the company or you get fired, and depending on what level your low esteem is, you will think that you're not successful. So those would be, my recommendations. I'm also going to add, because the gig economy has happened on us, and that's back to my point of flexibility. I feel like people should be open-minded to working 3 times a week. People should be open-minded to working 2 times a week, depending on what it is the organization is able to offer. People should also be open to being remunerated differently. And being remunerated, based on the outcomes you've put out, based on the duration or the number of days for which you have worked. And that's why I go back to my point to say that the 2 most critical skills for this season where we are in are flexibility and adaptability.
Nkiru, will this actually work in an environment that we have a lot of MSMEs? Because we don't even have so many of those corporate companies that may guarantee you some of those things that you're talking about. In Nigeria, we have 41.6 million MSMEs in the country, and 41.5 million of them are micro. So, and we have a population of about 206 million people. When I interviewed the chairman of the National Population Commission, that's what he said, 206 million people in Nigeria. Right. So you can see that millions of Nigerians are in the micro space. So how can one take all this that you have been saying in the last few minutes and inculcate it?
Look, Nancy, I feel like if nothing else, it is the MSMEs that should be exploring and embracing these models, and I'll tell you why. As an MSME, you don't want a long-term permanent staff, and a long-term permanent staff has a lot of financial implications, which is you need to think about the retirement benefits, pension management plan, bonuses, and all sorts of fringes. And therefore, I feel like it's the MSMEs who, at this time, I need to be cost nimble. At this time, I want to pay only for the services that I need, to survive or to work on a project. And I hear you, but I feel like this, more than any time, is a time where MSMEs can embrace the flexible, working solutions or that the labor market offers. I mean, I also feel like, and I hear you with the numbers that you've put forward, we also need to do a step back. I'm quite dependent on research to think about the mindset of the people who are emerging into the market. I'm smiling because I remember in Kenya visiting an organization where the youngsters who worked there arrived at work at 11, and were not interested in working beyond 5. So I feel like as an MSME, the opportunities for me, it just depends on how I manage my mindset, and bearing in mind that I want to be costless. I want to be smart, with my OPEX, and those are the sort of thoughts and recommendations I feel like they should be embracing. So I want to use a contractor who delivers for me for a duration rather than having a long-term staff.
When you were also talking about corporate culture, what came into my mind, or when I asked you the question about priorities that one should take into cognizance when going to get that job, what came to my mind when you talk about corporate culture is, how do you deal with some certain situations, especially in the workplace? Some people, of course, they say it is common that, oh, there's so much politics in the workplace. How do you deal with it? If you want to climb a career ladder, either you are close to the GMD or you are close to the chairman of the company. That is, if you did not even come through that person first into the company and all of that. So how do you, deal with all of this and navigate through it? Because it's really tough that perhaps you are not a friend to the director, or you both don't go to the same tennis club, or you go to the same church, or you understand what I'm saying? And this,
I do.
Yes, this is really happening in our society on a daily basis.
Yeah. Look, the truth is, and I talk about in my book, In the Pressure Cooker, the truth is, anywhere you find humans, I call it the sugar and the ants theory. And it is a case of anywhere you find sugar, you typically will find ants. So anywhere humans are gathered, whether in the workplace, wherever, you would typically find politics. So, I think, again, it's back to you defining where you want to go to. And also, before you do that, defining your personal values, because your personal values are critical to the things that you do to help you rise up through an organization. Again, I talked about a corporate culture. I know that there's not one corporate culture that can eliminate politicking, but I know that the corporate cultures can either make it rife or make it better. Therefore, I think that when you marry that with your personal values, you then say to yourself, this is not the right place. Or you say to yourself, what must I do within my personal values to be able to rise, through the system? Again, I'm stepping down to the MSMEs because you talked about them, it has been my experience that the reason people experience also sometimes a bit of a dire corporate culture in this MSMEs is because the better of the business oftentimes becomes the leader of the business. So it's my idea, I'm the creative director of this idea, and I then become the CEO, which then makes me the leader of the organization. And all I perhaps had at the time was an idea in a room. It didn't allow me, go to leadership school, take a leadership course. I just was an idea owner, and then I arrive in the organization. So what you then find is you would find owners of businesses who don't necessarily have the requisite leadership skills. They may have the business skills, but not the supporting requisite skills. And what then happens is the corporate culture is awful. You hear comments like, oh yes, that's a one-man business. Whereas it shouldn't be so, because even Microsoft started as a one-man business.
So what should one-man businesses do to be able to scale? Because I've spoken about this a few times. In fact, when I'm being invited to speak to some places, I'm like, you see a lot of Nigerian businesses don't graduate more than that one-man business. So what should one-man businesses do to scale up? Because just like you said, a lot of one-man businesses abroad have scaled up.
Look, Look, I think that governance it's non-negotiable if you'd like to scale up. And with governance, I mean setting up systems and structures that would allow your business grow beyond you. When I sit in these sessions, one of their fears are often somebody will come and take my business. But the truth is, if you set up the right governance system, starting from your board, who's a member of your board, how are your finances operated, how should the separation be done, and obviously still keeping the right remuneration for yourself. But it's when someone wants to buy into a business, bring in equity, when the team, want to follow and support the vision, it's important that they see that even you, the owner of the business, is pushing and driving a business that is bigger or higher than himself. And therefore, there's a lot more push, there's a lot more investment, and things are done correctly. But you'll find businesses who don't have governance, and even governance around people. Somebody would be the judge, he'll be the jury, he'll be the MD, he'll be the CFO, he's a signer off of. That business is not going to grow beyond you. You're never going to get someone who would say, I'd like to put in some money beyond, into your business. You also find people who, everyone is working and bringing in funds, and, he's using this purse, and it's his business and it's his money, but he's using this purse in an inorganized manner. So I feel like governance is a really big piece, very critical to ensure that your business has sufficient structure and system to grow beyond you.
What do you need to set up those structures? Because the question is, some businesses may like what you're saying right now and say, I really want to set it up. I want my business to succeed me, definitely. I want to be able to go on a holiday. I want to be able to go to Hawaii. I want to be able to go somewhere and relax, and everything is working well. But what do I need to set up? But I will need money perhaps to hire some people, competent people.
Look, you need a business design strategist, and forget the fancy name I call it, but you just need a governance expert, who sits down with you and says, what is your vision? He's used to setting up systems and structures. He's used to setting up, systems that are maker and checker, because obviously it's your business and you want your business and your monies, to be well looked after. So he comes and sits with you, and really most big businesses who can afford it use one of the 4 big consulting firms, but a small business can get someone who's an independent business consultant. I see them a lot on digital and social media. Obviously you have to do your own checks to see that they are authentic, but just get a business person, a business process designer who sits with you, designs your processes, designs this transformation, and it's your business. So you also advise him what it is that you would like to see. And I feel like this is what would allow you the structure, like you say, to go lie in a beach in Miami.
I would love that, or any other person watching would love that. You also talked about leadership a bit, and if we're talking about career management or career advancement, you need some kind of leadership ability, is it?
Yes.
Even as a follower, do you need some kind of leadership ability?
Absolutely, and I'm glad we ventured into this area, because that's an area that I'm quite passionate about. Look, leadership is simply influence. It's no more, no less. And I mean, the guy who's at the gate of my complex is a leader. He's a leader because he influences who goes in, comes out. He influences how the security of the complex or the estate is run. So leadership skills are required for every journey or every facet of your career. And one of the biggest messages I leave with people is, I mean, I've had all sorts of questions. Are people born with leadership skills? Yeah, perhaps they are, but everyone can hone his leadership skills. And everyone can hone their leadership skills through learning, through putting yourself through trainings, and through following tried and tested leaders who, you can see that businesses have been tried and tested, and they've managed large teams and large people, and they've had good business outcomes and good values. And I often advise people, MSMEs, SMEs who are setting up business, being the idea creator doesn't necessarily mean that you do have leadership skills. Take some time, go and learn how to be a great leader. And obviously, if I can lean in on that a bit, that's really what the world is lacking, great leaders.
How do you become a great leader? What are the qualities? Because just like you said, I had an interview some weeks ago with Larry Olushola, and I think I asked him that question: are leaders born or are leaders made? You know, so yeah. What do I need to be a great leader? A good and a great leader, because there are differences.
Yes, yes. So look, a great leader is a person who influences you to get the best out of you. And I'd like to, just so it doesn't seem very high and very highfalutin, let me bring it down home. So we have children, and each of our children come with innate talents. But you know that those talents, without our nurturing, without our leadership, can remain innate. So our role, therefore, as leaders, is to be like the genie. And the genie is rubbing the genie bottle so that the best traits of that person emerges. I'm not the one who's putting it in you. You already have it there. So a great leader is someone who influences you to bring out the best out of you. And obviously, we'll take it into the workplace context. It is this person who rubs the genie bottle where your goodness, and obviously that's the skill for which I recruited you. So we recruited Nancy for Moneyline because she's great, but it is the leadership, whether it's self-leadership or someone leading you, who rubs the genie bottle to bring out the best in you. And the best in you might be an increased sense of, an increased skill in numbers. Maybe you weren't quite familiar with the capital market and now you are super familiar and you are a pro. Or maybe it's just managing the production team in a great manner that brings out the best, and Moneyline has a better outcome. So I don't want us to think too far or make it too complex. A leader is someone who influences and rubs your genie bottle so that all of the innate goodness within you comes through.
You know, I want to ask you this question, which is, yes, because please. I've also had, you know, talks with different young people, especially, and we're talking about career, we're talking about leadership, we're talking about work skills, workplace behavior, and all of that. Where does competence, where is competence in all of this equation? Because you see that a lot of people say, oh, okay, I need a job. But when you speak with them or when you go through what they have, you really would not see competence. How do we measure competence? I see a lot of CVs. I'm a team player. I can work under pressure. I'm good. I'm a smart communicator. But just tell the person to write a letter. You'll be struggling reading that letter.
You read. I hear you. Look, competence is non-negotiable. And when I made the point earlier, I said I'm making the assumption that the people we're talking about already have technical skills. Technical skills let you through the door. Technical skills with a huge layer of soft skills keep you through the door. So technical skills are non-negotiable. And I mean, I find that there's a lot of softism. And I mean, the other day I was on LinkedIn and someone said, to err is human. It's okay if you have a few typos on your resume. And I'm like, no. Because a resume is a representation of you whilst you are not there. So yes, maybe if you're writing an is and s came before an I, that's okay. But to use was when you were supposed to use were is not acceptable. So the point I'm making is there's no shortcut to getting the right technical skills. That's what gets you through the door. It is true that the soft skills that we talked about, communication, people management, etc., would keep you through the door. But the first thing that lets me open the door, lets anyone open the door to you, is your technical competence.
Nkiru, I thought I was the only one in that boat, which you just mentioned now. Not just like a few typos. But when I see those things where you want to write, I am. You understand what I mean? Or I apostrophe M, yes. You write AM. And you're asking me to be soft on you. So when I see those, and you find out that even after correcting, those mistakes are still done. That was why I asked you that question. Yes. That how do you measure competence?
Yes.
Because
but you'll be unpopular because for some reason there's a popular wave who kind of things like to err is divine and is to err in great things, you know, such as you have mentioned. And I'm not sure, Nancy, if you've even seen them abbreviate for you. Years ago, my younger brother sent me Sis, I will GRT greet. This is greet, GRT. I said in your life, don't send me that message again. Do you understand? And he said, but what's there? I'm like, please, just when you're talking to everybody else, it's fine. But for me, just use the appropriate one. Thank you. Because what are you doing with, so if greet is GRT, what are you doing with the rest of the EE? Are you boiling it in water to drink it? Why aren't you using the rest of it? I'm just saying, but obviously I agree that I'm a bit weird. That's all right.
I think we're in the same. I think we're in the same camp, because even doing text, because I don't know. That was why I asked, how do you measure competence? Because I see those things. Some people see it as little, but when I see those things, they tell me a great deal of who that person is and how that person can be at work. I don't know, but that is one of my measurements in terms of you're even sending a text. Send me the text in full. When I send you a text, I'm sending it fully. I don't even abbreviate. You know, because I feel that is how it is. And I'm also thinking, am I weird, or am I expecting too much from people?
No, you're weird in these times, I can assure you. You definitely are weird. I tell you free of charge. You are weird in these times because a lot of people don't care, it doesn't matter. And I feel maybe again, because you're in communication, so it's kind of like a pet peeve. You know, some things will needle at you, but I promise you the world is changing. I see it all the time.
Now, as we finalize this interview, how many minutes do we have? My director should be speaking to me in my ears very soon. I think we have about 3 minutes or so.
Okay.
What are the things that my viewers can really take away from all what we've been talking, so that they don't say, oh, they are speaking Turanchi, Oyibo, or Gesi, or English today, you know?
I hear them. Look, I think 3 things, if I may. 1, there's no compromise to getting the right technical skills from where you are to where you want to go to. Just in line with getting those technical skills is an outbreak of inexpensive courses that can help you upskill and retool. Secondly, I'm going to say to you that everyone can be a leader. Leadership is simply influence and bringing out the innate goodness in yourself and in others. I think the third thing I want to say to you is be flexible and adaptable, because the world is changing. I think those would be the top 3 things, Nancy.
Okay.
And maybe not flexible and adaptable in the way that Nancy and I just talked about those text messages, but be flexible nonetheless.
Okay, Nkiru, before I let you go, how do you balance career and family? You know, career and family, how do you have that work-life balance?
So that's why I wrote my book, The Pressure Cooker, because I had struggled for years and it just wasn't balancing. So I've accepted that balance is a myth. What is possible is having work-life integration and finding, depending on how far or how ambitious you are, the types of structures that can help you make a success of the fast life or fast-paced life that you found yourself in.
Thank you, Nkiru. It's been nice speaking with you today.
Thank you, Nancy.
I hope.
Thank you.
I hope it was also a pleasure for you, at least first time being on this program.
Yes, and agreeing to come on any TV, to be honest, if it's not directly related to my 9 to 5. But otherwise, thank you. I've had a delight sometimes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking with me.
Yes, and thanks to your team.
Oh, thank you. All right, that's the much you can take. I've been speaking with Nkiru Olumide-Ojo, the founder, Lighthouse Network, a financial services executive. We'll be speaking about career advancement and career management. All right, that's the wrap today and this week. Please join us again Monday. Do have a wonderful weekend on behalf of my team and I will see you all on Monday. Keep safe. Thank you for watching our video. Please hit the subscribe button below, turn on post notification to follow all our updates.